So let's talk about executive function. So executive function, if you haven't heard of this before, is the ability to carry out a plan, to understand what the issue is or the project that needs to be done. It could be cleaning your room, it could be doing a homework assignment. And there are steps and sequences that have to happen, and that's called executive function. Okay, so let's talk a little bit closer about that just to shed some light on what's really required. And I didn't even put in all of the steps here just to do some math homework. So the first thing like I said earlier, it starts with focus. Once we get the child focused, do they understand what the homework was that was given to them? Do they understand the expectations? Then second, do they know how to record it accurately, write the assignment accurately in their planner? So this is when they're still at school. Can they take what the teacher said and wrote on the board and actually translate it into their planner correctly? There's a lot that can happen there in between that short time. And then the third thing is, can they remember when they get home to you? Can they remember to check that planner for homework? Did they even think to look? I think that is the biggest battle at our house. We struggle to remember to look, all of us, including the parents. Then the fourth part is the work. The student has to show initiative, that task initiation, that they're going to get started on that homework. And a lot of students with dyslexia are going to avoid it because they know it's A, going to take longer, and B, they're going to feel unsuccessful almost the entire time that they're doing it because they have such a visual brain and it's just too much time and effort to get it down into numbers. Then the fifth step was memory. Can they even recall how to do the homework? How did their teacher want them to do it? And then six, we got to do attention again. They have to maintain the focus on that homework assignment. Can they even finish the whole thing? Then we have to check it, make sure we did it right, and then label it. My family struggles with no name papers. Does the student miss credit because they just forgot to put their name on it? And then heaven forbid, let's pray. It's on a prayer, at my house that the homework actually makes it to the school to get turned in. If you opened one of my child's backpacks right now, it looks like a tornado, just blew through there. But I clean it out every single weekend, but every day it looks like this. It looks just horrendous. And then there's three more steps that I could think of. The student has to find that binder again when they're at school to open it up and go turn in the homework. And we're just, having issues with that travel. The student takes the backpack with them to get their schoolwork turned in. And let's pray that teachers have a fairly standardized way of turning in their homework, but most teachers don't. They all have different spots and locations in their classroom, and your child is likely to get it mixed up about where the homework goes, and it's difficult to get things turned in. And this isn't even really all of the steps. I didn't even talk about the math mayhem that could ensue executive function-wise. And so that's an issue for our students with dyslexia. But some quick tips that I can share for that with the executive function is to cut all the clutter. So I mentioned that I clean out my child's backpack. Yes, I know this is a life skill. He should learn how to do it, but there's a time and a place for it. And often it's just better for you to take care of it and include them when they're in a low anxiety state, not when anxiety is high, to organize the information so they know where to find it, but help them standardize some of the things that they're doing. And so cutting the clutter in their backpack, cutting their clutter in their room, whatever you can do to help the study space that they're using. I even took it as far as the backpack that we use has one pocket. You know those backpacks that have like 5 different places you could put things inside? We got rid of that. We cut the clutter, one pocket, nothing gets lost anymore because of that. It gets crumpled, but it's not lost. Another simple way to cut the clutter is actually through your worksheets, and I'll show you some examples of that. Try to help. You could advocate at the school or you could take care of this yourself, but the worksheet shouldn't have more than 2 to 4 problems on each worksheet. And you'll see this when you work with us here at Made for Math. It's typically 1 math problem on the screen, maybe 2. We never do a bunch because it's just too much executive function that gets taken to try to process visually what's happening. And then cutting the clutter in your environment is really helpful. So if your child's working on their homework, Try to put them in a room where cooking dinner isn't happening. And I know that's hard because most of us have to multitask to survive in this world. But cooking dinner is a distraction. Having a sibling in the same room playing with their phone or playing videos is a distraction. Try to remove any environmental clutter that you can, from sounds to sights, and that should help tremendously. And then the language that you use when you're talking about math, try to cut the clutter in that as much as possible. Use as minimal language as you can, and I'll show you a little bit more about that later. And then routines. Try to stick to your routine with how you do your homework, what time of day you do your homework, how you approach and start your homework. These things help the brain know to anticipate and plan for these patterns to appear. The brain loves patterns. And so if you can encourage that with your child, it will help their executive functioning. There's a whole plethora of things we could do here, and that's probably a whole nother webinar we could do. But for today, I'll stop right there.